Hello and welcome to part 1 of Introduction to Full Stack Web Development. So first off, what is web development? This is simply building web pages or websites. We all know what websites are, the internet. So to build various pages on the internet, that is web development. It's a lot more nuanced than that, but that is the entry level understanding you need to just grasp. So basically for web development, we're going to need 3 major languages. And programming language is just the way you discuss with people, you communicate with people. That's the same way you communicate with the computer, you communicate with whatever gadget you're using. That is what a programming language is. They have different languages and each language serves its own purpose. But for this tutorial series, we're mostly going to be using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So what is HTML? What is CSS? What is JavaScript? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and basically it's used to create the bare bones structure of a website. With HTML alone, the website won't look very appealing. It won't have much functionality, but you can add pictures, you can add different things, but they won't be beautified. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. And what that basically does, it adds style and beauty to the page. That's where you start modifying colors, start setting position of different elements. You start modifying the entire page to make it look more attractive. Then JavaScript is where you add functionalities such as carousels. It lets you modify the website in real time. That is basically what JavaScript does. So now let's use this analogy. Let's imagine you're building a house. HTML is like laying down the foundation, the block work, all of that. There's not really much there. It's just an uncompleted building. You're basically seeing the blocks, everything. While technically you can sleep inside there, but nobody wants to do that. CSS is when you now come in with the paint, all of that. You beautify the whole place. You add whatever decorations you want to do. That is CSS. You beautify the house. Then JavaScript is like adding plumbing. You're adding wiring, electricity, all of that. That is JavaScript. You're adding the functionality to the house. Then when you hear things like server-side database, we're not going to cover that right now. It's deeper, it's further down. But let me just introduce the concept right now. And when you're talking about database, the back end, it basically dictates how your website interacts with pages and information. For example, when you want to log into Facebook, type your username, type your password, or you're signing up either way, type your username, type your password, you click submit. It's the server that works with the database to retrieve that information, to store it, or if you're signing in, to check if there's a user like that and redirect you to the page you need to go to, which could be your profile page or the chat page, all of that. So we're going to get into all of that, and back to the house analogy. Let's think of that as a storeroom. The database could be like a storeroom where you store your information, or it could even be your food items, all of that. Basically, the database is where you store everything in the house, as with the house analogy. So once again, HTML builds the elements on the website, but they'll be very ugly by default. CSS is where you beautify them, you style it. JavaScript, you add functionalities. Then server-side codes, they are different. We'll touch the different types when we get there. We have not gotten that far yet. We'll touch the different types of server-side languages you could choose. So, but the server side now dictates how each page is served and how, if you want to interact with the database to retrieve information or to store information. So now we understand what HTML is, what JavaScript, what CSS, all of that is. Now you need to know how to write this. So first off, you need to have what we call an IDE. And an IDE is an integrated development environment. Basically, an IDE is a software that enables you type code, modify code very easily. By default, you can create a website with almost any text editor. Yes, this includes Microsoft Word and Notepad, but it is not advised because if you want to be optimized, if you want to work quicker, you need an IDE. An IDE has all the tools you require, and these tools could include maybe ways to check bugs, quickly modify your code, or to deploy it when you're done straight from the IDE. But if you use stuff like Notepad and Microsoft Word, you can't do that. So it's advised to use IDEs. They have a whole lot of tools that will make life a lot more easier for you. So in the next video, I'm going to be showing you how to download and install Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is the IDE we'll be using for this tutorial series, and is actually an IDE of choice when working with multiple programming languages. You can use it for Python, you can use it for Flutter, all sorts of programming languages. All right, thank you for sticking by to the end. If you feel this video helped you, please drop a like and feel free to subscribe for future content. I also have a website and a Discord where I'll be dropping most of my free content, so check that out. Also, feel free to support the channel on Ko-fi to aid the making of future assets and videos. Alright, that's all for now. See you in the next video.